Good afternoon and aloha. My name is Juergen Steinmetz. I'm joining you from livestream.travel here in Honolulu. And of course, everyone at eTurboNews, welcome on board. With me is Dr. Peter Tarlow in College Station, Texas. Starting with the weather, it's actually a beautiful, warm summer day here. Just had a conversation earlier with a friend of mine, and it looks like things are shifting when it comes to temperature. We have a lot of 90 degrees in Honolulu, what we didn't have just about 10 years ago. It never really got warmer than like 86, 87. Now 90 is not an exception anymore. So with all the flooding now in China, in Germany, and everything else, this world is really on the move. How's everything in Texas?
Well, we're having a very unusual summer here also. It's usually very hot, very muggy, and very dry, which is kind of ironic because it's both dry. It doesn't rain, but it is muggy. But right now, our climate's closer to that of Mexico City's, and we have beautiful warm days. And then around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, the skies turn gray, and we just finished having a major thunderstorm again. So everything here is really super green. It looks like we're in the middle of a jungle. Normally, we have beautiful yellow grass, and this year we have green grass. So, and I shut off my sprinkler system because God is sprinkling it. So it's been I think most Texans are pretty happy with it, but of course, people on the West Coast of the United States are suffering because they're having a drought. People in Europe have an excess of water. You know, we won't go into the reasons why there are climatic shifts, but the Earth has been having climatic shifts for the last 4 billion years. So I assume we will continue to have climatic shifts. Let me just shut this off here. I'm sorry, I apologize. That was somebody call. I should have shut my phone off.
No problem.
Anyway, so I think we're going to be facing some climatic shifts and stuff that, you know, is going on. But a lot's going on in the news, and that's really probably more important. Certainly, we might start with the fact that tomorrow will be the opening of the Olympic Games, or by the time most people see this newscast, it'll really be on Friday. The Olympics in Japan are really, boy, you don't know what's going to hit them next. Today, the person who is in charge of all the programming for the opening night ceremonies, which is a very big deal, was fired for making a Holocaust joke and fired on the spot. And I believe that person is the 4th or 5th or 6th person to be fired recently because of anti-female joke, anti-Black joke, anti-Jewish joke, whatever the, you know, racial epithet might be. So that's really not good for Japan. Japan really looked at this as a way to get back after any negative material from 70 years ago in World War II. And now all of a sudden, all this racism is coming out again. And on top of that, of course, COVID is there. More than 50, I believe more than 60% of the population in Japan is against the Olympics. And that leads to the real question that we should discuss. Is it a smart thing or not a smart thing to go after something like the Olympic Games? Or are you better off as a winner by losing? In other words, if you apply to be the host of the Olympics, maybe you're better off not being the winning city and you don't have to put in the expense, etc. The last city to make money was Los Angeles in 1988. So this is quite a long time that no city has made any money from the Olympics. It's been a money loser.
Yeah, and what it is with the Olympics, of course, it's also not only a big sports event, it's a big tourism event.
Right.
Now times are different, but in regular times, it's a big tourism event. In Tokyo, there's no tourism at all, so there's not a tourism event. But when it is, what this really does, it blocks the entire hotel allotment for just a few days. Yeah. What is a snowball effect, because hotels cannot just be sold out, every hotel within a few days. There has to be a pattern. You have commitment to tour operators. You have commitment to groups coming in. And all of this is going to come to a still stand during the Olympics. So it's not only a money-making opportunity for the travel and tourism industry, it's a logistic challenge and it's a real challenge. And Tokyo, of course, this is a challenge we've never dealt before. And I feel sorry for a lot of our friends in Japan, having looked forward so much to these Olympics. I feel sorry for athletes that have now trained for 5 years. And I was heavily involved in preparing for the Olympics as an unofficial participant in the 1976 swim team in Germany. So I know the blood and the effort and the excitement people go through firsthand. And I can still say, when I went to Montreal during 76 Olympics, this was the best time I ever had in my whole life. So people are going to be disappointed this year. And let's hope the next Olympics will be under a different.
Having worked on the security for Olympics for 2002, 2010, and then 2016, I know how much effort goes into the security planning. It's about 8 years worth of security planning. So so this is kind of all gone down the drain for Japan. The other side of it is the real question: is it worth it? And I personally think the Olympics made a major mistake. They used to have the summer and the winter Olympics on the same year. So say 2004, summer of 2004, the Olympics, and then the winter Olympics in the evening and the winter of 2004. But now they do them every 2 years. And I really wonder if we're not getting Olympic fatigue, because it's not something that you look off to. It's now, oh yeah, here are the Olympics again. And sometimes too much is not good. So I really wonder if the Olympics have kind of diminished themselves by putting the there are two different cycles, the winter and the summer Olympics. And I'm not sure this is helpful. I know they wanted to spread it out and spread out the wealth. I'm not sure they're doing it. And I think you brought up the really important issue of hotels. And that is, if for 5 days or 6 days or 10 days or a month, all the hotels are sold out, and then everybody clears out, you go from full hotels to almost empty hotels. And so you need extra staff, and then you have too much staff. And you need extra people, working in the restaurants, and then nobody's there. Everybody kind of clears out. So I think there's some real issues that come with such a major sporting event.
Yeah, and but many people think and really wanted to have these issues these times, and they just simply cannot. And well, let's see where this all goes. The news really in the world isn't all that encouraging. I mean, even here in Hawaii, people are quite shocked and depressed today. We have 246 new corona cases, and we have 3 people who passed away. What is absolute in proportion to seeing almost double the record number we ever had. There are no lifting or no increase of restrictions right now, but it may be just a matter of time. I don't know where we're heading, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if there are not some form of restrictions. And it's going to be really hard, because I think we have, just like we talked about Olympic fatigue, I think we have COVID fatigue. And if governments try to reimpose masks or reimpose lockdowns, a lot of people are going to be very upset. I mean, just when you speak to people on the planes, and you say, are you afraid to travel? They go, I don't care. I just want to get out of the house. I've been locked up for 16 months. I don't care where I go. Just put me any place. Just send me someplace. And I really wonder if that's not going to become a real issue throughout the world, that people are just saying, I will not be locked up anymore. And will that create all sorts of political problems? Will that create all sorts of interesting sociological and economic problems? So we don't know that. I mean, these are question marks questions we need to be asking. They're good questions and sincere questions. But how long can you lock people down? And right now, of course, part of the problem, I don't know what's going on in Hawaii, but in much of the world, the real issue is not COVID per se, it's a Delta variant or the Indian variant of that disease. And this may not be the first variant that we face. We may find a number of variants. On top of that, there's a real question. I saw today the Ministry of Health in Israel, and Israel is switching from Pfizer to Moderna. And supposedly Pfizer now starts running low after about 6 months and goes down to about 33 to 40%. Now, that's being disputed by some scientists. So it's not a scientific fact yet, but it is certainly a hypothesis that the Pfizer vaccines may need additional booster shots on a every 6 months basis, or no one knows. I think that's a better way of saying it. We just don't know. Moderna is saying that it will last for about 3 years and can handle the Delta variant, but you don't know, are the pharmacies telling the truth or not telling the truth? And I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah, maybe the pharmacies don't even know, because these things are shifting so fast that really there is no clear guideline in a lot of ways, and we really don't know where we're heading.
But can you imagine if everyone has to have a third shot? We're having trouble getting people to take 2 shots. Now we're going to take a third shot?
Well, I don't mind the third shot, as long as logistically this is something we can all handle. And I'm sure we're going to be okay here in the United States, but what about other countries that are not that fortunate? We have to.
Yeah. Well, in Europe, I noticed a number of countries are now blocking people going to England. And of course, I think England was supposed to be COVID. They're going to do away with the restrictions in the middle of July. I don't know what happened. Did they do that? Is it England open now, or is it closed, or what happened to England?
Well, there is really no clear answer, because England and the UK has a colored system of countries that can visit England either with no restrictions, with little restrictions, or with a lot of restrictions in quarantine. From what I understand, the United States is still in the middle tier. So it is not open for immediate tourism back and forth. I know other countries in Europe right now are opening for American travelers, but the United States hasn't opened to the Europeans at all. So there's still a lot of inconsistency.
Yeah, and it was unclear if is travel open in Britain, because they were talking about going back to re-lockdowns again. And I don't know that. That's a question I'm asking.
Where exactly? I'm sorry.
In the UK, are they going to go back to reimposing lockdowns?
Peter, I'm not sure, but it's good and interesting, something we should investigate. And I'm not really 100% sure. This news is developing so fast, but let's talk about it tomorrow. It's worth investigating.
Yeah. One of the things I think that's going to be a real challenge for people, if you go to visit someplace and it's open, and then all of a sudden they reimpose lockdowns, is that going to mean that you get stuck in the middle of a trip? Suppose you're on a 14-day trip, and all of a sudden day 7 they lock you down. Do you go home? Do you stay? Are you now locked down to a hotel? Are you? I guess the uncertainty really makes travel hard.
Yes, and unpredictable. You don't really know what is going to expect you. Like Thailand now partially opened, and islands like Phuket in Thailand are completely dependent on tourism. It's the major industry. But there are a lot of restrictions. Don't think about going to a nightclub. What is the big deal in Thailand? Because they're closing at 9 o'clock after dinner. So nothing.
It's an eating club.
Eating club, yes. And if anyone in your group, if you travel with a group or you're on the plane, has COVID, that means everyone who was with you in this group or is with you in this group, you may not even know the people, have to then go 2 weeks in quarantine, and you have to pay for it. The government is not paying for it.
So if you're on a plane to Thailand, I'm taking a plane from Los Angeles to Thailand, and somebody in the back row or someplace in the plane ends up being tested with COVID, I'm in quarantine. That would make me really scared about flying to Thailand.
Well,
it's like Russian roulette.
Yeah, to be fair, it is not the plane, it's a group. If you travel with a group, let's say you travel with a larger family, or you're traveling with a tour group with strangers, or you travel individually with a group, then if anyone gets sick in this group, but it's not that if
anybody on the plane,
it's a different story. Yes, just to be.
Yeah, because I'd be really afraid to get on a plane. I mean, there's 300 people there. There's a good chance one of those people might have COVID, then the whole plane would be in quarantine, which would not be pleasant.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do live in uncertain times, and different parts in the world have different scenarios. We will learn a lot more on Monday about how things are in Saudi Arabia. You can easily register and be part of it if you go to worldtourismevents.com. Just register, and there's a $10 participation fee, so it's not 100% free, but it's well worth your money. It's a lot going on in Saudi Arabia, and even if you needed connections and have business what involves Saudi Arabia, worth attending.
Having just returned from the Middle East, it's pretty clear that just like in ancient times, you had the Silk Road, which was, the center of the world was kind of in Asia. It's kind of returning back to the Middle East and Asia. And you can feel that's really where there's so much dynamic stuff going on. And many of the Middle Eastern countries are really jumping ahead very quickly, becoming first world countries or post first world countries. I think it's really interesting for people to see what's going on in many of these Middle Eastern countries. They may be part of the wave of the future, whatever that means, for good or for bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If you visit Dubai, it's like living in Disneyland on some level.
That's
the pictures of Dubai are just fantastic.
Well, Peter, we're coming to the end of our session today, I think.
I hope you have a good rest of your day in Honolulu. And the rain here stopped. So it's now just a beautiful evening with stars in the sky again. The rain came, it went, and my lawn, every time somebody comes to try to cut the lawn, it pours. So I'm going to be living in a jungle soon rather than in a backyard, because the grass keeps getting sun and rain makes grass go very quickly.
Right. Well,
all right. Take care. I hope everyone listens and enjoys. And it's almost Friday, so happy Friday for those of our friends in the Muslim world. Shabbat Shalom if you're in the Jewish world. And have a nice weekend if you're in any other world.
All right, Peter. You take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
have here the best popcorn. Nga pa rin nga nito.
eTurboNews stands behind freedom of press and PEN Belarus. PEN America CEO Suzanne Nozzle said the following: when a government silences and stomps on its writers, it reveals a level of shame and decay that leaders are aiming to hide, but instead only expose. Belarus leaders may think they can suppress the truth by muzzling those who dare tell it, but the story of the will of the people and the scale of brutal repression will find its way to the world. We stand in solidarity with the writers of PEN Belarus and are determined to ensure that their vital voices are heard and their rights to express themselves vindicated. eTurboNews is an independent publication standing behind PEN America's sister organization PEN Belarus. The Belarusian Justice Ministry has moved to shut down PEN America's sister organization PEN Belarus. It comes amid raids this week on the offices of organizations and media outlets. PEN Belarus received notice of the ministry's intent to liquidate the organization the same day the group released a report showing an increase in cultural rights violations in the country. PEN America stands at the intersection of literature and human rights to protect free expression in the United States and worldwide. We champion the freedom to write, recognizing the power of the word to transform the world. Our mission is to unite writers and their allies to celebrate creative expression and defend the liberties that make it possible. eTurboNews is a member of PEN America. The letter sent to PEN Belarus on July 22 reads: the Supreme Court of the Republic of Belarus initiated a civil case on the claim of the Ministry of Justice of the Republic of Belarus against the Republican Public Association Belarusian PEN Center for liquidation. The representative of the Republican Public Association Belarusian PEN Center must appear at the specified time with documents confirming the authorization to participate in the case. The saddest thing is that I see no end to it all. There is a total cleanup of the Belarusian world. They destroy according to a devilish plan. The Belarusian PEN Center systematically collects information on the implementation of cultural and human rights with regard to cultural workers. From August 2020 to the present, we have been witnesses and documentaries of the prearranged high pressures placed on all of free society and cultural figures in particular. This is a tragic time for freedom of expression, freedom of creativity, freedom of opinion, etc. The socio-political crisis is characterized by the violation of fundamental human rights and freedoms, persecution for dissent, censorship, an atmosphere of fear, and the expulsion of proponents of change. This document contains statistics and examples based on the collection and synthesis of information from open sources, correspondence and personal conversations with cultural figures for the period from January to June 2021. During the first half of 2021, we noted 621 cases of human and cultural rights violations. The number of violations in January-June 2021 is more than the volume of recorded cases for the entire year of 2020, 593. We are talking specifically about the cases of 2020, which were included in the monitoring review during that year. While collecting data on cases in 2021, we also continue to record the missed cases from 2020. It means that there were more of them. It can be argued that the pressure and repressions, which have been especially strong since August 2020, and which started during the presidential campaigns, have not weakened. Instead, the repressions are acquiring new forms and are affecting an ever-widening range of Belarusian cultural subjects. The dynamics of recorded violations since 2020. As of June 30, 2021, 526 people were recognized as political prisoners in Belarus. Of the total number of political prisoners, 39 are cultural workers. Instead of conclusion, it is difficult to serve art when the country has no time for laws, when all norms legal and human have been violated. Hat Yai Airport in Songkhla Province in Thailand is empty and quiet. The only sign of human life are security guards on duty. Thailand has instituted a 14-day domestic flight ban for provinces in the dark red provinces and zones. The ban will run from July 23 through August 2, 2021, at minimum. Most new cases involve the COVID-19 Delta variant, with vaccinations not speeding up fast enough to create a herd immunity. In order to control the COVID-19 coronavirus, the flight ban was declared and strict controls are in place effective immediately. Checkpoints and screening are in place for travel between dark red zone provinces and other areas. New COVID-19 cases have been recorded daily in the southern province of Songkhla, with a new cluster of at the large Sapsan market in the Muang district. The Nakhon Songkhla Municipal Office closed the market for 7 days from today, July 22 through 28. The Tourism Authority of Thailand (TAT) provided an update on the newest round of COVID-19 restrictions announced for the 13 maximum and strict controlled areas or dark red zone provinces. The new cases mostly involve the Delta variant, particularly among vulnerable groups aged 60+ and those with underlying diseases, with most of the infections coming from home from within the family. Despite attempts to speed up vaccinations, time is still needed to build herd immunity. The Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration (CCSA) also added Ayutthaya, Chachoengsao and Chonburi in the dark red zone, bringing the number of provinces to 13 in addition to Bangkok, and the 5 surrounding provinces Nakhon Pathom, Nonthaburi, Pathum Thani, Samut Prakan, and Samut Sakhon, and 4 southern Thai provinces Narathiwat, Pattani, Songkhla, and Yala. Public transport is allowed to operate at only 50% of the seating capacity and must apply social distancing measures. The relative authorities are to ensure there is enough transportation services, especially for people with vaccination appointments. Hotels can open per normal hours, but are not allowed to hold any meetings, seminars, or banquets. Convenience stores and fresh markets are allowed to open up until 2000 hours. All 24-hour convenience stores must close nightly between 2000 to 0400 hours. Ordered to close from July 23 to August 2 or until further notice are sports fields, public parks and botanical gardens, all kinds of competition venues, exhibition centers, meeting centers, public performance venues, learning centers and art galleries, libraries, museums, historical parks and archaeological sites, daycare centers, beauty salons, hairdressers, manicure and tattoo shops, and swimming pools. Restaurants and eateries are allowed to offer takeaway services only up until 2000 hours. Department stores, shopping malls, and community malls are allowed to open until 2000 hours and only for supermarkets, pharmacies and medical supplies, and vaccination centers. The nighttime curfew remains unchanged between 2100–0400 hours. However, during the 7-hour period nightly, people are asked to remain at home and only to go out if necessary. Allowed to remain open under strict disease control measures are hospitals, medical facilities, medical clinics, pharmacies, shops, factories, banking and financial services, ATMs, telecommunication services, postage and parcel services, pet food shops, building materials and construction supplies stores, shops selling miscellaneous necessary items, cooking gas stores, petrol stations, and online delivery services. In France, the state of the travel and tourism industry contributed 49.1% less to the country's GDP between 2019 and 2020 due to COVID-19. France lost 1 in 11 jobs since the outbreak of COVID-19. In 2019, 334 million jobs in the country contributed to France's travel and tourism industry. The GDP contribution for the tourism sector in France went from 8.5% to 4.7% from 2019 to 2020. International visitor impact on spending went from €60.4 billion to €28.5 billion, a 52.9% loss from 2019 to 2020. Domestic visitor impact on spending went from €115.5 billion to €58.0 billion or 49.8%. The numbers comparing domestic spending was 66% in 2019 and 67% in 2020. International spending was 34% in 2019 and 33% in 2020. The leisure travel market went up to reflect 3% more leisure travelers spend in France. The top 5 inbound arrivals to France in 2020 were Germany, 16%, Belgium, 15%, United Kingdom, 13%, Switzerland, 9%, Italy, 8%. The top 5 outbound markets that France travelers like are Spain, Italy, United Kingdom, Germany, Belgium. This data, based on the WTTC Economic Trends Report, reveals COVID-19's dramatic impact on travel and tourism around the world. Prior to the pandemic, travel and tourism, including its direct, indirect and induced impacts, accounted for 1 in 4 of all new jobs created across the world, 10.6% of all jobs, 334 million, and 10.4% of global GDP, 9.2 trillion United States dollars. International visitor spending amounted to 1.7 trillion United States dollars in 2019, 6.8% of total exports, 27.4% of global services exports. The research also shows that the travel and tourism sector suffered a loss of almost 4.5 trillion United States dollars to reach 4.7 trillion United States dollars in 2020, with the contribution to GDP dropping by a staggering 49.1% compared to 2019, relative to a 3.7% GDP decline of the global economy in 2020. In 2019, the travel and tourism sector contributed 10.4% to global GDP, a share which decreased to 5.5% in 2020 due to ongoing restrictions to mobility. Turks and Caicos Islands updates TCI assured travel requirements. Travelers will be required to take a COVID-19 RT-PCR, Na, RNA or antigen test within 3 days of travel. The date of the sample collection must be within 3 days 72 hours of the travel date. Test must be conducted by a medical laboratory with either of the following credentials, accredited by the College of American Pathologists (CAP), registered by the Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendments (CLIA), ISO 15189 certification. Antibody tests and results from home-based test kits will not be accepted. The Turks and Caicos Islands announces an update to travel requirements to the destination as a part of TCI Assured, a quality assurance pre-travel program and portal, which will require all travelers to present a negative COVID-19 RT-PCR, Na, RNA or antigen test result from a test taken within 3 days of travel, effective on July 28, 2021. The date of the sample collection must be within 3 days 72 hours of the travel date, which was reduced from the previous requirement of a test to be taken within 5 days of arrival, and a test date calculator on the TCI Assured portal will assist travelers in determining when to take the test. Approved amendments to the arriving passengers' health clearance regulations also in effect on July 28 include the acceptance of professionally administered reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction tests (RT-PCR), nucleic acid amplification tests (Na), RNA or molecular tests, and antigen tests for entry to the Turks and Caicos Islands. The test must be conducted by a medical laboratory with either of the following credentials, accredited by the College of American Pathologists (CAP), registered by the Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendments (CLIA), ISO 15189 certification. Previously, the destination was only accepting RT-PCR tests. Antibody tests and results from home-based test kits will not be accepted. We are proud to have safely welcomed travelers to our beautiful Turks and Caicos Islands over the past year and are updating travel requirements to ensure ongoing vigilance and in consideration of the efficacy and turnaround of available COVID-19 tests, said Honorable Josephine Connolly, Minister of Tourism for the Turks and Caicos Islands. More than 60% of the adult population in the Turks and Caicos Islands is fully vaccinated, making us one of the most inoculated countries in the world. Combined with our updated TCI Assured program, we are confident in the overall well-being of our communities and visitors as travel to the destination continues to flourish. As part of TCI Assured, which has been in place for travelers since July 22, 2020, when the destination opened its borders to tourists, travelers must also have medical travel insurance that covers medevac. Insurance companies providing the prerequisite insurance will also be available on the portal, a completed health screening questionnaire, and certification that they have read and agreed to the privacy policy document. These requirements must be complete and uploaded to the TCI Assured portal, which is available on the Turk and Caicos Islands Tourist Board website in advance of their arrival. The Turks and Caicos Islands has remained vigilant and consistent regarding its international traveler requirements, which are the same for vaccinated and non-vaccinated travelers. Because of this, the destination has received an Alert Level 1 from the Centers for Disease Control (CDC). This represents a major milestone in the Turks and Caicos Islands vaccine campaign, which began in January 2021 and has resulted in more than 60% of the adult population being fully vaccinated with the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, making it one of the most inoculated countries in the world. Emirates launches new Dubai to Miami flight. Emirates Airline connects two major leisure and business destinations with first nonstop service. Emirates' new service to Miami provides an additional access point to and from Florida. New route expands Emirates' U.S. network to 12 destinations on over 70 weekly flights. New service links travelers from Miami, southern Florida, South America and the Caribbean to over 50 destinations across the Middle East, West Asia, Africa, Far East and the Indian Ocean Islands via Dubai. Emirates is connecting global business and leisure travelers with its first-ever passenger service between Dubai and Miami. The airline celebrated the launch of its new 4-times-a-week service today, when the inaugural flight touched down in Miami at 11 a.m. local time. Emirates' flight EK213 was welcomed by Miami International Airport with a water cannon salute and drew an audience of passengers, aviation fans and guests to celebrate. For the first flight, the airline operated its popular Boeing 777 Gamechanger, featuring spacious, ultra-modern first-class private suites with design inspired by the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Along with its current service to Orlando, Emirates' new service to Miami provides an additional access point to and from Florida and expanding Emirates' U.S. network to 12 destinations on over 70 weekly flights, giving passengers more choice and convenient connections from the Emirates network to southern Florida. It also links travelers from Miami, southern Florida, South America and the Caribbean to over 50 destinations across the Middle East, West Asia, Africa, Far East and the Indian Ocean Islands via Dubai. Issa Suleiman Ahmed, Divisional Vice President, USA and Canada said, "We are thrilled to start our long-anticipated service between Dubai and Miami for travelers. We expect that the service will be popular with our customers who are seeking new experiences as countries like the UAE and US advance their vaccination drives and the world safely opens up for international travel." With the greater access that the new Miami service provides, we expect it to generate high demand, enhancing business, cruising and leisure traffic and forging more economic and tourism ties between both cities and beyond. We are committed to growing our operations into the U.S. in line with increasing air travel demand and would like to thank the authorities and our partners in Miami for their support. We look forward to providing our unique product and award-winning service to travelers. Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava said, "We are excited to welcome new Emirates flights to MIA as we expand business and leisure traveling options for Miami-Dade residents and visitors, connecting them with new cultures and growing economies. Opening our doors to new visitors from Dubai and adding to our growing list of worldwide destinations continues to consolidate MIA as a global travel hub." Ralph Coutier, Miami International Airport Interim Director said, "We proudly welcome Emirates to MIA, and we greatly look forward to welcoming their passengers from Dubai, the Middle East, and points across the globe. Emirates is without question one of the leading airlines in our industry, and Dubai has become one of the world's most popular cities for leisure and business travel. As our local and connecting passengers continue returning to air travel, we are pleased to now offer them Emirates' world-class service to Dubai." William D. Talbert III, CDME, President and CEO Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau said, "Emirates' first flight from Dubai to Miami is a true testament to Greater Miami's positioning as a global gateway and world-class destination. As we safely reopen to international visitors, we're excited to welcome the Emirates customer who is sure to appreciate our diverse cosmopolitan metropolis, surrounding waters and pristine beaches, and perfect year-round weather." The new service will also add to the existing trade connections provided by Emirates Sky Cargo, the freight division of Emirates, which has been operating passenger freighter services to Miami since October 2020. Emirates has been offering cargo capacity into and out of Miami that facilitates exports of perishables, electronics and other components, as well as e-commerce goods. In the past, Emirates Sky Cargo has also operated several charter flights on its Boeing 777 full-freighter aircraft to transport champion horses from Miami to equestrian events around the world. Since 2019, Emirates Sky Cargo has moved more than 7,700 tons of cargo in and out of Miami. Flights to and from Miami will operate 4 times weekly on Emirates 3-class Boeing 777-300ER, which features 8 private suites in first class, 42 lie-flat seats in business class and 304 spacious seats in economy class. Emirates flight EK213 will depart from Dubai DXB at 3:10 a.m. Gulf Standard Time (GST), arriving in Miami (MIA) at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time the same day, and the return flight EK214 will depart Miami at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, arriving in Dubai at 7:25 p.m. GST the next day. With the addition of Miami, Emirates now serves 12 gateways in the U.S. including Boston, Chicago, New York, JFK and Newark, Houston, Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Washington, D.C. and Orlando.
Hawaii hotels revenue up substantially in June 2021. It's a positive sign to see Hawaii hotel accommodations statewide reporting an upward rise, knowing how many local workers and families are benefiting from the return of the domestic market. Hawaii hotel room revenues statewide rose to $387.7 million in June. Maui County hotels led the counties in June. Through the first half of 2021, Hawaii hotel performance statewide continued to be impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Hawaii hotels statewide reported substantially higher revenue per available room (RevPAR), average daily rate (ADR), and occupancy in June 2021 compared to June 2020, during which the state's quarantine order for travelers due to the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in dramatic declines for the hotel industry. When compared to June 2019, statewide RevPAR and ADR were higher in June 2021 but occupancy was lower. According to the Hawaii Hotel Performance Report published by the Hawaii Tourism Authority (HTA), statewide RevPAR in June 2021 was $247, plus 769.5%, with ADR at $320, plus 127.0%, and occupancy of 77.0%, plus 56.9 percentage points. Compared to June 2019, RevPAR was 4.8% higher than 2019 levels, driven by higher ADR, plus 14.2%, which offset lower occupancy, minus 6.9 percentage points. It's a positive sign to see hotel accommodations statewide reporting an upward rise, knowing how many local workers and families are benefiting from the return of the domestic market, said John DeFries, HTA President and CEO. During the first 6 months, although the hotel RevPAR and occupancy were still nowhere near the pre-pandemic levels of 2019, it's encouraging to see the steady comeback of jobs and opportunities for Kamaraina that weren't there a year ago. The report's findings utilized data compiled by Street, Inc., which conducts the largest and most comprehensive survey of hotel properties in the Hawaiian Islands. For June, the survey included 138 properties representing 44,614 rooms, or 82.6% of all lodging properties and 85.2% of operating lodging properties with 20 rooms or more in the Hawaiian Islands, including full-service, limited service, and condominium hotels. Vacation rental and timeshare properties were not included in this survey. During June 2021, most passengers arriving from out of state and traveling inter-county could bypass the state's mandatory 10-day self-quarantine with a valid negative COVID-19 NART test result from a trusted testing partner prior to their departure to Hawaii through the Safe Travels program. In addition, individuals who were fully vaccinated in Hawaii could bypass the quarantine order beginning June 15. Inter-county travel restrictions were lifted also on June 15. Hawaii hotel room revenues statewide rose to $387.7 million, plus 1,607.1% versus 2020, plus 1.5% versus 2019, in June. Room demand was 1.2 million room nights, plus 652.0% versus 2020, minus 11.1% versus 2019, and room supply was 1.6 million room nights, plus 96.3% versus 2020, minus 3.2% versus 2019. Many properties closed or reduced operations starting in April 2020. Due to these supply reductions, comparative data for certain markets and prices classes were not available for 2020. Comparisons to 2019 have been added. Luxury class properties earned RevPAR of $530, plus 19.5% versus 2019, with ADR at $754, plus 36.2% versus 2019, and occupancy of 70.2%, minus 9.8 percentage points versus 2019 to the power of 2. Mid-scale and economy class properties earned RevPAR of $122, plus 166.7% versus 2020, minus 11.7% versus 2019, with ADR at $163, plus 52.9% versus 2020, minus 3.8% versus 2019, and occupancy of 75.2%, plus 32.1 percentage points versus 2020, minus 6.7 percentage points versus 2019. Maui County hotels led the counties in June and achieved RevPAR that surpassed June 2019. RevPAR was $394, plus 1,523.8% versus 2020, plus 24.1% versus 2019, with ADR at $498, plus 260.4% versus 2020, plus 26.3% versus 2019, and occupancy of 79.2%, plus 61.6 percentage points versus 2020, minus 1.4 percentage points versus 2019. Maui's luxury resort region of Wailea had RevPAR of $595, plus 5.9% versus 2019 to the power of 2, with ADR at $790, plus 28.0% versus 2019, and occupancy of 75.3%, minus 15.7 percentage points versus 2019. The Lahaina, Kaanapali, Kapalua region had RevPAR of $357, plus 5,498.9% versus 2020, plus 32.3% versus 2019, ADR at $437, plus 408.2% versus 2020, plus 31.6% versus 2019, and occupancy of 81.7%, plus 74.3 percentage points versus 2020, plus 0.4 percentage points versus 2019. Hotels on the island of Hawaii reported strong RevPAR growth at $281, plus 655.9% versus 2020, plus 43.9% versus 2019, with ADR at $356, plus 208.4% versus 2020, plus 42.8% versus 2019, and occupancy of 79.0%, plus 46.8 percentage points versus 2020, plus 0.6 percentage points versus 2019. Kohala Coast hotels earned RevPAR of $452, plus 62.1% versus 2019, with ADR at $557, plus 58.4% versus 2019, and occupancy of 81.2%, plus 1.9 percentage points versus 2019. Kauai hotels earned RevPAR of $266, plus 759.1% versus 2020, plus 27.7% versus 2019, with ADR at $339, plus 135.0% versus 2020, plus 21.0% versus 2019, and occupancy of 78.4%, plus 57.0 percentage points versus 2020, plus 4.1 percentage points versus 2019. Oahu hotels reported RevPAR of $171, plus 516.5% versus 2020, minus 19.8% versus 2019. In June, ADR at $227, plus 49.9% versus 2020, minus 6.5% versus 2019, and occupancy of 75.4%, plus 57.1 percentage points versus 2020, minus 12.5 percentage points versus 2019. Waikiki hotels earned $166, plus 661.9% versus 2020, minus 20.6% versus 2019, in RevPAR with ADR at $218, plus 46.6% versus 2020, minus 8.1% versus 2019, and occupancy of 76.2%, plus 61.5 percentage points versus 2020, minus 12.0 percentage points versus 2019. First half 2021. Through the first half of 2021, Hawaii hotel performance statewide continued to be impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Hawaii hotels earned $141 in RevPAR, minus 4.7% versus 2020, minus 37.3% versus 2019, with ADR at $293, plus 1.6% versus 2020, plus 4.8% versus 2019, and occupancy at 48.1%, minus 3.2 percentage points versus 2020, minus 32.3 percentage points versus 2019. Total statewide hotel revenues for the first half of 2021 were $1.3 billion, plus 18.5% versus 2020, minus 41.0% versus 2019. Room supply was 9.2 million room nights, plus 24.3% versus 2020, minus 5.9% versus 2019, and room demand was 4.4 million room nights, plus 16.6% versus 2020, minus 43.7% versus 2019. Comparison to top U.S. markets. In comparison to the top U.S. markets during the first half of 2021, the Hawaiian Islands earned the second highest RevPAR. Miami, Florida led the nation in RevPAR at $155, plus 24.2%. Tampa, Florida ranked third at $100, plus 42.1%. The Hawaiian Islands led the U.S. markets in ADR for the first half of 2021 at $293, followed by Miami, Florida at $227, minus 1.5%, and New York at $154, minus 5.2%. With the U.S. mainland accessible for road trips and short-haul intercontinental flights, the Hawaiian Islands' occupancy for the first 6 months of 2021 was lower than many destinations in STR's top 25 markets, landing at the 17th spot. Tampa, Florida topped the country in occupancy at 70.4%, plus 17.0 percentage points, followed by Miami, Florida at 68.5%, plus 14.2 percentage points, and Phoenix, Arizona at 61.7%, plus 8.1 percentage points. Comparison to international markets. When compared to international, sun and sea, destinations for the first half of 2021, Maui County ranked second in RevPAR at $247. Hotels in the Maldives ranked highest in RevPAR at $391, plus 31.2%. The island of Hawaii, Kauai, and Oahu ranked 5th, 8th, and 10th, respectively. Through the first half of 2021, the Maldives led in ADR at $794, plus 8.1%, followed by French Polynesia, $6,342, and Maui County, $475, plus 10.2%. The island of Hawaii, Kauai, and Oahu ranked 5th, 7th, and 10th, respectively. Puerto Rico led in occupancy for sun and sea destinations during the first half of 2021 at 60.9%, plus 23.4 percentage points, followed by Maui, 52.0%, and the Cancun region, 51.6%, plus 14.5 percentage points. The island of Hawaii, Oahu, and Kauai ranked 4th, 7th, and 8th, respectively.
Hawaii COVID-19 infections one record high after another. Hawaii tourism is booming, and COVID-19 is booming among the non-vaccinated like never before. With 243 new coronavirus infections, the Aloha State is in big trouble. New cases of COVID-19 in Hawaii are surging and have been climbing every day for over a week. Factoring in the percentage of people now vaccinated in the state, Hawaii is witnessing new infections that are more than double that of the recorded highest day since the pandemic. With such an increase in new cases, one might think it is time to reinstitute travel mandates, but so far the government has not changed a thing. Deducting those that are vaccinated, 60%. 243 infections would mean close to 700 infections based on last year's numbers. Today was the highest ever recorded increase in new infections, and tourism leaders are silent. Hotels, restaurants, shops are full. There is hardly space for popular beaches, like Waikiki Beach, to find a spot for your towel. There are no international arrivals, but domestic arrivals combined register more arrivals already. The corona infection rates in Hawaii have reached triple digits for the last 8 days, and are climbing. 146 new cases were registered in Honolulu County, 50 in Hawaii County, 14 in Maui County, and 8 in Kauai County. Approximately 78% of cases in July are from community spread, 20% from residents returning from travel, and 2% from non-resident travel. Record tourism arrivals may have only a 2% reason, which is good news for the economy, but with such an increase in numbers, it may be time to roll back restrictions. The last time Hawaii was under a complete lockdown with such numbers, today there is silence. Hawaii is following a trend in the United States that people are fed up and mentally immune. This is a dangerous development. Israel to ban unvaccinated citizens from all public venues including synagogues. Those who refuse to get vaccinated are undermining the efforts of all of us, Israeli Prime Minister Bennett announced. The number of new coronavirus cases in Israel continues to rise. Unvaccinated Israelis will not be allowed at any venue with over 100 people, both indoor and outdoor. Science is clear, the vaccines work, they're effective, they're safe. Newly elected Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has announced today that all unvaccinated residents of Israel will soon be banned from any indoor or outdoor public venues holding 100 or more people. This ban will also include the synagogues. People who refuse the COVID-19 vaccine are undermining the efforts of all of us, Bennett said today, as the number of new coronavirus cases in the country continues to rise. If everyone gets the vaccine, life can return to normal, but if 1 million people refuse, the other 8 million will have to endure lockdowns, Prime Minister added. There's a time when this discussion has to stop, Bennett told the nation. Science is clear, the vaccines work, they're effective, they're safe. Starting on August 8, Bennett announced, anyone who refuses to get vaccinated will no longer be allowed at any venue, above 100 people, both indoor and outdoor, including theaters, sporting events, and houses of worship. To enter, people will have to show proof of vaccination, proof they had COVID-19 and recovered, or a negative test, obtained at their own expense. Israel has been using the Pfizer-BioNTech mRNA coronavirus vaccine. According to the Health Ministry, the vaccine's efficacy against symptomatic illness stood at 64% and against serious illness at 93%.
Our love story with the beautiful Seychelles Islands. Former tourism specialist, Roger Porter Butler, and his wife, Joan, revisit their fondest memories of Seychelles, their little corner of paradise since 2011. In 1978, when tourism was new to the Indian Ocean destination, Roger was instantly charmed by the beautiful islands of Seychelles. He promised himself that he would return to walk the deserted beach of Onslasio on Preslin. It would not be until 2011 that he would return with his wife 10 years after they were married. Seated in their cozy living room in Somerset in the southwest of England, Roger and Joan Porter Butler, a retired British couple, met with the Seychelles team on a Wednesday afternoon. The meeting, conducted via the online platform Zoom, courtesy of COVID-19 and its travel restrictions, was one of those once-in-a-lifetime encounters, transporting the readers through the beautiful love story of the Porter Butlers with Seychelles. Roger recounted his first memories of Seychelles back in 1978 when tourism was new to the Indian Ocean destination, the airport having just opened in 1972. Roger recalled with much emotion that he was charmed by the virginal state of the beautiful islands and being particularly mesmerized by Onslasio with its powder-soft sands framed by imposing granite boulders. My first visit in Seychelles lasted for 2 weeks and I was excited about being in such a beautiful place, especially having Onslasio Beach on Praslin to myself for a whole day. That is when I promised myself I would return to walk on this deserted beach again, said Roger. Being in the travel industry and traveling the world, I kept the memories of Seychelles dear in my heart and I knew I would return. The years passed but Roger never forgot about Seychelles, and in 2011, a decade after marrying his beautiful wife, Joan, he took her on a trip to what would become one of their favorite destinations. The couple decided to discover another wonder of Seychelles, settling this time for the island of Sten, and during the trip, they celebrated the 10-year milestone in their relationship at the Four Seasons Hotel on Maui. Reminiscing, Roger and Joan spoke affectionately about their visit to Maui Island, a 24-acre island that forms part of the St. Anne National Park, where they met with Brendan Grimshaw, a former British newspaper editor, who owned the island at the time. Mr. Grimshaw signed his book A Grain of Sand with a special note to the couple inviting them again during their future visits. Making the most of their time in Seychelles, the couple sailed to Praslin on a catamaran and hired a car to visit the island at leisure. 33 years after his first visit to Seychelles, keeping the promise he once made to himself on the sumptuous Onslasio, Roger stood again on the sandy beach, but this time with his soulmate. In 2013, Roger and Joan returned to Seychelles and venturing further afield, made their first visit to Dennis Private Island. This particular holiday was the most amazing holiday we've ever had in our lives, bearing in mind that we have traveled the world. Everything was just perfect. The weather was excellent, the sea was amazing, and we could swim and snorkel. The other guests were friendly but not intrusive. We respected each other's privacy but got on well at dinner time. The food was excellent and so was the accommodation. We like seclusion and Dennis Island was perfect, said the couple. Their 2013 holiday was so memorable that upon their return to Somerset, they got a Labrador dog and named him Dennis. The Porter Butlers said that the anecdote about their dog's name always gives them a perfect opportunity to speak about Seychelles and their love for the islands. In 2015, they returned to Dennis, where they celebrated Joan's 60th birthday. Our most beautiful experience is Dennis Private Island for sure, as we love the peaceful surroundings away from the crowds. We would like to keep returning to Dennis Island as often as we can, Joan confessed. In 2016, they decided to choose a different island to explore and visited Surf Island, where they enjoyed snorkeling around surf, lodging at South Point Villas and enjoying the regular shopping trips to Maui. In 2019, the couple returned to celebrate Roger's 80th birthday, opting this time to stay at Chateau de Feuillis on Preslin, a hotel they had spotted during their visit in 2011. During their stay, they enjoyed a visit to Grande Serre Island and touring Preslin. Although Joan and Roger could not make it to Seychelles in 2020 due to the pandemic, the islands are never far from their mind and they are planning a trip to the islands in 2022. The couple mutually agreed that Seychelles remains their most beautiful experience because of the beauty of its flora and fauna, the simplicity of life, and most definitely, the pleasure of savoring a deliciously cooked fish fresh out of the ocean. Since his retirement, Roger spends much of his time perfecting his other passion, painting. Can we dare to hope that one of his most famous works will be one of our islands? We certainly look forward to welcoming the Porter Butlers back to Seychelles.
Loss of World Heritage status will hamper Liverpool tourism recovery. Cultural tourism is now big business, with 29% of the global travel market typically undertaking this type of trip. International tourists spend significantly more on average compared to domestic tourists. Liverpool is now set to lose out on several different benefits due to the recent announcement. Liverpool now needs to be proactive in how it handles this news. While domestic tourism demand may not be massively impacted by the loss of Liverpool's World Heritage status, international demand could be, as many international tourists visit Liverpool to experience the culture and history of the city. Cultural tourism is now big business, with 29% of the global travel market typically undertaking this type of trip. The loss of its heritage status could take the shine off Liverpool's cultural appeal and result in international tourists visiting other UK destinations that have kept this label, such as Bath. International tourists spend significantly more on average compared to domestic tourists. According to the industry data, in 2019, the last normal year for tourism, average overseas tourism expenditure per resident stood at $1,057 US, while average domestic tourism spend per resident in the UK stood at $263 US, GB £191. Liverpool needs to attract as much international tourism as possible in the coming years, considering the significant amount of revenue it generates. With its heritage status now gone, international demand could be negatively impacted, and recovery could be prolonged. Liverpool is now set to lose out on several different benefits due to the recent announcement. As alluded to already, the increased press and publicity that comes with being a World Heritage Site increases international tourism and acts as a powerful marketing tool which the city has to pay little towards. Having World Heritage status almost acts as a quality label for the international market to see. This is especially influential for the powerful Chinese source market that is known to be influenced by tags that denote quality or excellence. Under the status, heritage sites are also eligible to receive funds for protection and maintenance. International visitation would have taken time to recover in the aftermath of the pandemic. However, this growth could take even longer to recover now that Liverpool has lost its World Heritage status. The city now needs to be proactive in how it handles this news, whether this is by creating new marketing campaigns for the international market, or by quickly appealing this decision to regain its cultural attraction.